Okay, the first thing that I want to make you aware of is that graphite pencils are usually the common tool in a drawing class. So I have a set of them right here. And a lot of times when you use graphite pencils, they get a little blunt on the end right there. You see that? Maybe a little tiny bit blunt, not as sharp as you might need it in certain areas of your drawings. So let's start off by kind of talking about how you sharpen these. And I have this X-Acto knife here, and I want to show you the proper way to sharpen these where you're going to get the most benefit out of the graphite coming out of the top, and also preserve and how you make these, how you keep these for a long time, how you preserve the life of your pencils. So first of all, I like to shave these a little bit with an X-Acto knife or a box cutter. Just depends on what you're more comfortable with. So you want to drop and drag that in the wood and push forward gently until you expose enough of your graphite out of the top. So you're going to have a lot more playtime with your pencils if you expose enough of the graphite during a session. Also, I talk to my students about this in drawing classes. I allow them, I pretty much expect them to do this to their pencils because a lot of times students are very heavy-handed in their drawing practices where they're going to want to push, push, push and not gently layer and gently draw and sketch in their sketchbooks. They want to hold the pencil really tightly as if they're going to write. And that's not how we want to practice our drawing. So I usually have them push the graphite out of the wood a little bit more than normal, a little bit more than when you're using a regular sharpener, so that you make this a little tiny bit more vulnerable. That way you don't push, because when you push harder with a longer graphite sticking out of there like that, you're going to break it. So it's going to teach you not to push too hard. So I always have them do a little shaving there, and also you can put the pencil on its side to do wide band shading if you ever want to do that. When you just have a little tiny piece of graphite sticking out of the top, it's not so easy to do this process too with the pencils. Now, say you're drawing, you're using up your tip, you're using it up, and it's getting really blunt and dull. So what you want to do is sharpen it. The first thing that we're going to do is go to our pencil sharpener, right? Well, the next step that I'm going to show you with this pencil and this funny little contraption right here is that you can preserve the life of your pencils a lot longer if you use one of these. This right here, this funny little thing right here is sheets of sandpaper. These are sheets of sandpaper. And what you use these for is to just brighten the tip of your graphite if you need that more pointy. This one is pretty pointy, so let me go ahead and grab a dull one so that I can show you. This one's a little bit duller. But what you do with this sandpaper paddle, that's what this is, sandpaper paddle. They cost about $1, maybe $2, depending on where you go to buy them. What you do is you gently drag this over the surface and you roll your pencil at the same time to get a point on your graphite. All you want to do is shave or sharpen the graphite. You don't want to shave or sharpen the wood, okay? You want to make sure that you're just dealing with the graphite, and then that way you're not shaving more of your wood down with the traditional pencil sharpener. This preserves the life of your pencil by doing this. And side note, you might want to hang on to some of this because the next thing that we're going to do is a little stump work. And this is loose graphite right here, which you can use for shading. So that would be your sandpaper paddle to brighten the tips of your pencils. Okay. The next thing would be your, voila, your stumps. These are stumps. These are blending tools in drawing. And I am a renderer. I do a lot of drawing rendering. So I like to shade and make things look nice and smooth and just very gradiated with these kinds of things. So these are blending stumps. I don't particularly like to use my fingers. Some people do. But I like to use a stump more than I want to use my fingers, because the fingers usually will have sweat or oil or something on the tips, and that might get in the way of nice, smooth shading in your drawing. Now that's not set in stone. You can use your fingers if you like. Just test it out. See which one is better for you. I generally use the stumps. They come in so many different sizes that you don't have to worry about a certain space that you want to smooth or blend. See, they come in all these different sizes and they all have different numbers on there. So here's a very large one. I'm just going to go ahead and use the medium size one. This is kind of like pulp, molded pulp. And it's a little hollow on the inside, but it's real sturdy. And then there's this other style. This is a turtloin, and it's not pretty solid. It's kind of like rolled up paper. And you can probably see or hear the little grooves on the side. This one does not have those grooves. This is kind of like a rolled pulp put into a mold. So here's what happens with this. You want to put this on the side, and you just want to gently roll it over your area to start some blending. Gently roll it over. And you can also go back on top of this to add more graphite if you need to. Just depends on what it is you're trying to shade. Also, when I'm going to bring this back in, there's extra graphite on here. So you can literally take that stump and roll off some of that graphite and use it in your drawing. So powdered graphite works. You could also use this sandpaper paddle with charcoal. You can take your charcoal and rub it on here and get a nice little pile of powdered charcoal. Pour that out on some other surface that you want to save it, and just go to it as your pile of material for your project. So keep these things in mind while you're practicing your drawing skills. And that's what these are used for. This is your stump. That's going to give you a nice blended. The more you push, the darker it might get. So I say go light at first, and then you darken for wherever you need dark areas. So I'm going to show you guys a very practical application of this process in another video. So just wanted to go over the tools. A stump, sandpaper paddle, and of course yours truly, your blade for shaving your pencils.